Hello, folks. Been a while. I always say that. This is a new kind of segment. Now, I don't know how frequent this will be on, like most of my videos. But this is something that I've been doing for a little while, and that's collecting issues of the Sandman. I even show in one of my haul videos from last August, I believe. I show off when I first started collecting this particular series, and well, if you haven't read the title, this video series is going to be about my collection of this series, The Sandman, written by Neil Gaiman. I've stated this countless times before. The Sandman is my favorite comic book series. I'm so incredibly excited for Sandman Overture coming out in October. I'm getting that, and I'm getting any variant cover that comes with it, and I'm getting any type of director's cut or whatever. Even though it's going to come with a fold-in poster with it, which is stupid. That means I got to buy 2 issues to get the poster out of it. Yes, that's the only issue I'll ever get. I won't even do that with Superman Unchained, because fuck that shit. And it really makes me realize how much DC is basically going back to 90s practices. Ugh. So, basically the whole goal of these videos is just to show off my continuing collection of Sandman memorabilia, not limited to, but including the series issues. I have the entire series in trade paperbacks. I don't know if you can see it right there on the shelf. That was like the first series ever. Like, as a kid, I never read Harry Potter. I never read Series of Unfortunate Events or Narnia or the Inheritance series or any of that stuff. It just never interested me as a kid. But when I bought the first trade to Sandman, I was hooked, and that was in high school. So, but yeah. So I got some issues here. I got quite a few. Well, decent amount. The first issue here. And I held off this. I had this particular issue here for a couple of weeks now, but I held off for reasons, and I'll explain that in a bit. This issue here I got one day when I was at. There's a store in. There's this kind of city that's in my area. I'm from an island in Canada, and it's not a very big island. And basically, the closest thing that we have to a city is a place called Sydney. And it's not really a city, but it kind of is, because that's where the malls are at, and that's where all the shopping is, and all that shit. And there's a used bookstore there, and they also do sell comic back issues. And here and there, they have some good stuff. I showed off before in a haul. Tons of shit that I got there. I mean, I got the first issue of The Invisibles. I've got most of the issues from John Byrne's Man of Steel, just tons of stuff. But a lot of times, now, a lot of people go through them. I usually give it like every couple of weeks I go in. I don't want to go every week because Einstein defined insanity as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So there you go. But yeah. I was going through the rollers one week, the rack, whatever, rollers. I just got off work, so don't mind me. And I was just kind of going through it, and I was about to leave, and I just went through it once more, and I can't believe I nearly missed this. Then I found it, and I yanked it, and it is Sandman issue 40, Convergence, written by Neil Gaiman, as per usual. And illustrated by Jill Thompson and Vince Locke. Now, this issue is significant. This is from the Brief Lives story arc, trade paperback, I believe. I think so, anyway. And this is also the issue where the Little Endless show up. The kid cartoony versions of the Endless. Basically, what happens in this issue is that Daniel, the little baby throughout the series, who is the child of the Silver Age Sandman. Basically, he walks into he goes into the dreaming. He goes to Cain and Abel's house, and just a bunch of people there. They tell him stories, and it's just a bunch of short stories put into one, a bunch of fables, like the Adam and Eve story is talked about, and tons of other stories are talked about. And the Little Endless story is talked about, and it talks about when the Endless were kids. And this was a fairly significant issue. This was a really good issue, and I'm surprised I found it. I picked it up and I asked the guy. I was like, oh, maybe there's more from the story arc or something like that. Maybe there's more Sandman issues. And I asked the guy. He's like, I'm actually surprised that you found that. You know, I guess I caught him slipping or something. Game Chasers, shout out. And he's like, I got one other thing written by Neil Gaiman. And I was like, oh, what's that? And it was American Gods, and I already own American Gods, but I want to get the author's preferred text just because. And I need to start rereading it because the show is going to happen one of these days. So, yeah. So that's issue number 40. And it still had, to my surprise, it still had the DC banner, which I was extremely surprised at. I don't even know when they switched over to the Vertigo. This is August of 1992, so this is still pre-Vertigo. Admittedly, I don't know. I'm not that deep into it, but you know what? I think the first issue actually might be the Ramadan issue, drawn by P. Craig Russell, but I'm not too sure. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. For those of you who are unaware, basically, this book is basically like Vertigo comics, like that, 100 Bullets, Preacher, fuck, I'm trying to think of other, like, Al Moore's Swamp Thing, The Invisibles by Grant Morrison. A lot of these books were, Animal Man, Grant Morrison. A lot of these books were pre-Vertigo. You know, Swamp Thing was a DC book. This was way before Vertigo was even a thought. And it was only until Vertigo became a thing they reprinted the trades under the Vertigo branding because it was too dark for the DCU. And there was also, this was pre-Vertigo. This started as a DC book. Animal Man started as a DC book. You know, it's tons of stuff. And so then they relabeled it and they published it under Vertigo because, and honestly, it makes more sense for it to be in the Vertigo banner anyway. And so today, I got a text message from my best friend who lives in Alberta, and basically a couple of days before I bought that issue, she texted me, and she texted me a picture. She's like, I'm at this record store. She's a big record enthusiast, big vinyl enthusiast, and basically, she's like, I'm at this place and they also sell comics, you know, and they got vintage DC comics here. And she pulled out 3 grab bags of Sandman comics. One of them was the Doll's House story arc, one of them was Season of Mists, and the other one is the one that I got. They wanted like 50 fucking bucks for like Season of Mists or Dollhouse, and like, I can't remember, like, either or, but they were both pretty fucking expensive, and I said, you're not paying that much on me. You're not spending that much on me. Like, that's not happening, okay? But I picked this one because it cost the less, and hey, I do really like this trade. I didn't understand it as much when I first read it, but I liked it a bit. I appreciated it much more when I finally got around, when I became a more mature reader, I suppose you could say. And so she got me the entire Dream Country story arc. I haven't even opened this yet. I haven't even looked at this yet. I was at work, and she's like, my mom's down, and, you know, what's your address? She'll come over, and she'll leave them at your house. And I'm like, okay. Admittedly, I don't buy grab bags. I find that I don't see... Well, there are good grab bags you can get. The random ones I find are really good, but I find the ones for like story arcs and stuff like that, I find that they're way too price tagged. Unless you're going to a really good comic store, Like I find Strange Adventures in Halifax, they got amazing grab bags. They're really well priced, and their back issues are amazingly priced as well. I believe I bought Sandman issue 9 there, I think. I can't remember. So yeah, so Dream Country, that's issue 17, that's Calliope. Calliope is from Greek myth, I believe. She was a muse from Greek myth, and in this story, this struggling writer meets this incredibly famous writer that he's a huge fan of, and he's like, what's your secret? What's your secret? And basically he shows him that he has Calliope chained down in his fucking basement, and basically he rapes her, and that gives him you know, influence, and that gives him fuck, what's the word? That gives him inspiration and shit like that. And so finally, you know, he takes her hostage, this new writer, and he becomes like the most famous fucking writer. Like at one point, he adapts his own movie, and he makes like all of his money back and more, you know, and all that shit. And then at some point, she contacts Dream, and they talk, and they mention Orpheus, and they're like, Orpheus, as in the song of, as in like, you know, Orpheus from Greek myth. Well, the foreshadowing is that Dream and Calliope had a kid together. That kid was Orpheus. Spoiler. Sorry. It's a fucking 20-year-old... It's a 25-year-old series. This one was a really good issue. Issue 18. 1990. Jeez. This was Dream Country. This is the... A Dream of Cats, A Dream of 1,000 Cats. Basically, it's what cats dream about, and it's basically these cats get together and they talk about how, you know, humankind just fucking straight out abuses them and does horrible things to them and to their kind and to their kids, like they drown cats in bags and horrible shit like that, right? So basically, this cat says, like, look. Every single cat in the world has to dream about the old ways, and the old ways was the cats were in charge, and cats were gigantic monsters, and humans were tiny little things, and we basically got to eat humans. And then all of the humans dreamed a dream. I dreamed a dream. At the same time, basically, that the world would be different, and that humans would be in charge. And so basically, the cat says, we need to do that. We will get back. And it's just a great little short story. The best thing about this story arc is that it's all short stories. Oh, totally forgot that this issue was in that trade. Issue 19, A Midsummer Night's Dream. This is a bit of a controversial issue. It won a very prestigious sci-fi, or no, it was a fantasy award, because this is a fantasy series. And it was like the first comic to win it, and there was like there was a big kerfuffle about it, and they're like, why? Basically, what happens in this issue is that Dream goes back to visit William Shakespeare during the first playing of A Midsummer Night's Dream. And basically, throughout this series, William Shakespeare is a prominent character, because basically he meets him in a tavern one night, and he helps, and basically Dream helps him. He's like, I will help you be a better playwright. I will help you, I will help you get your work achieved, because I think you're a great writer. And so basically, he makes a pact with him. He's like, you got to write some plays for me. Midsummer Night's Dream is one of those plays, and Shakespeare writes Midsummer Night's Dream for the fairy kingdom, and they base a lot of the characters off it, and also it has a lot of foreshadowing for what's to come in the series and all that stuff. It's just such a wonderful, wonderful issue. And this was the first single issue that I've ever seen. When I was about 18, I made my first trip to a comic store in Halifax, or it was in Dartmouth. I went to the Strange Adventures in Dartmouth, and they had this single issue there. I can't remember how much they were charging for it. It wasn't too much, I don't think. and I wanted to buy it, but I didn't end up getting it. I should have, but hey, I got it now, so I got around to it, and it's in better condition. It's all these issues are in wonderful condition. I'm actually really surprised at that, but yeah, this is such a good issue. And finally, issue number 20, Facade or Facade. This issue, trying to remember. This is the issue with Metamorpho, the female Metamorpho. And basically they're sitting there dealing with, and it's Death like talking to her, and it's like showing her life, and her life is so terrible and shitty. And basically, you know, at the end of it she dies and Death picks her up and all that stuff. And it basically shows like her superpowers are shit, you know, like they're terrible for her. And she basically went into an Egyptian tomb, and she ended up getting the power because she was an archaeologist. She got the power, you know, unwantedly, and basically she got the power, and it's her curse and all that stuff. This was a solid issue. Artwork by Colleen Doran, who is a phenomenal artist. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Also, she got me a 90s Batman issue, number 490. I think this was a part of the Nightfall story arc. I'm not too sure, but who knows, right? So that's all I've got to show for now. In terms of that, whenever I pick up Sandman issues or any Sandman things, I will do a video talking about, you know, showing that stuff off, because I mean it's my favorite series. I love it. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone because I can see why a lot of people won't like it. It's very dense. You know, I had to go on Wikipedia to understand a lot of things. But hey, it made me a better reader, and it made me a sharper reader, you know. Sometimes you gotta read the dense stuff even when you're young. I mean, I was pretty young getting into that. I was in high school, you know. So that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. My best friend is amazing, and I fucking love her. Like, she's a sister that I never had, basically, to me. And I cannot thank her enough. Thank you so much, Gabrielle. I love you. You're amazing. So yeah, that's all that. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and peace out.